Hey everybody, Steve in Palm Springs, here in South Palm Springs. In fact, I'm in a neighborhood that's as far south as you can get here in the city of Palm Springs. It's called Andreas Hills. It's up in the hills, the Indian Canyons, and there are quite a few hiking trails around here that are very famous, very well known. There's also a horse stable nearby, and people ride horses up into the hills. So today I'm here to take my walk in this neighborhood because we live in the northern part of the city where it's very windy, and it's just been so windy this past week. It's spring. This is our windiest time of year. And so this is definitely a time of year when I want to get out and walk in other neighborhoods that aren't so windy. And in fact, the south end of Palm Springs is known for not being windy. I mean, that's why it's so popular. It's a lot more expensive here because there's very little wind and we have a very windy desert. So you pay a premium to live in the non-windy areas. I drove through this neighborhood, gosh, probably 5-10 years ago. That was the last time I was here. And then the other day, someone left a comment saying that Lucy Arnaz lived in this neighborhood. I have no idea how they knew for sure that she lives in this neighborhood. I'm guessing there's probably no plaque or sign at her house letting you know that this is where she lives. So unless she's out walking her dog this morning, I'm probably not going to run into her or know which house is hers. And when I visit and walk by famous celebrity homes, these are usually homes that the celebrity is long gone, no longer lives there. And the new owners have placed a plaque, almost, usually like an historic plaque, to let people know that this was once owned by a famous celebrity. I have no idea where Lucy Arnaz lives, and quite a few subscribers have asked me over the last year or so to visit her house, and I'm like, well, I have no idea where she lives, and even if I did, I wouldn't visit and show the house on this channel unless it had a plaque out or a sign saying Lucy Arnaz lives here, because the last thing I want to do is infringe on someone's privacy while they're still living in the house, a famous celebrity. They obviously don't want fans knocking on their door or showing up at their door. Now, most of these celebrity homes are well gated and guarded, and there's no way you can get to the front gate anyway, but still, I don't want fans hanging around their house or going to their house because they saw it on my video. It's one thing if it's an historic celebrity home, but not one where someone is living. I also have no idea if any other celebrities currently live here or have lived here in the past. So I'm just going to walk around like I like to do and to get my exercise, and I'll be filming and just showing you some of the beautiful homes. And if I happen to see a plaque on an historic home or where a celebrity once lived, I'll certainly show that to you. You may be able to notice that it's kind of shady. Now, it's only 7 a.m., and it's not even supposed to be too warm today. I think it's only getting up to 80 or so. So it should be a nice, pleasant walk. Might even be a little cool this morning because I'm in the shade of the mountain. There's this little area here, this canyon, is surrounded on 3 sides by mountains. So it's very beautiful, but as the sun is coming up on this side, it's also very shady. So let's get started before it does get too sunny and too warm. Again, I don't think it's going to get too warm, but it could get pretty sunny, and I don't want to get sunburn on my face, so I may even change my hat. Even though I don't need a hat right now, I probably will in about an hour, and I'll probably be walking for a couple of hours. I usually do. I don't walk real fast on these walks, usually because I'm sightseeing and filming and talking and showing you these homes. So these walks usually are a couple of hours, 2-3 hour long walks, which is fun. I enjoy that. I like getting a couple of hours worth of walk, even if I am just walking at a slower pace. I think I'm still getting good exercise. So I also have a new microphone that you can see here that I'm going to try this morning while I'm walking. It attaches to my iPhone, so I can just film with my iPhone, which the quality on the iPhone is much better than on the camera that I'm using right now, which is my Sony camera. And this is a Movo lapel microphone that you just hook onto your shirt, and it just automatically syncs wirelessly with your iPhone. And if the blue light is on like it is now, it means it's automatically synced wirelessly with the microphone on my shirt. So we'll see how it works today. The sun is just starting to peek over the hills there. It won't be long before this will be sunny everywhere here. So I'm going to walk to the top here. I don't know exactly. I think the street is one big circle, the one I'm on here, but I'm not sure. So I'll walk up here to the top and see. Like I said, this is the first time I've walked in this neighborhood, so this is all new to me. This home here looks like more of a Santa Fe style. I don't see too many of these here in Palm Springs. Really blends in with the hills here, doesn't it? Oh, hey, and there's a leaf blower. Just got out of my car, of course. Didn't I tell you guys? Well, at least they've got the electric leaf blowers. Morning.
Not a bad spring morning to wake up to.
No, it's really nice, isn't it? Well, it's really pretty how it just blends right in with the hills. Look at that view. Okay, so I'm not the only one walking up the hill here this morning. So I decided to change my hat, and where since there's no wind, this is not going to blow off. It doesn't have anything to hold on to, so I can't wear it when I'm in a windy area. But it should be okay today. But I know that sun is going to be over the mountains very soon. So I thought I would try to keep my face and my ears out of the sun. Well, there's quite a few people walking this morning. Look at the view from here. So this is the top of the hill. It's Bogart Trail and Andreas Hill's Drive. Frank Bogart was the mayor here in Palm Springs way back in the day. He was one of the early, well, I wouldn't say pioneers, but one of the earlier people who helped make Palm Springs famous. He was friends with all the celebrities. Lucille Ball, they were good friends, and he lived up here. And there's a hiking trail. Is this the name of it here? Is this his? Let's see. Yeah, I think it says Frank Bogart Trailhead. So this is a popular hiking trail here in Palm Springs. Look at this view. This is pretty spectacular. I don't know if it really is going to show on camera just how gorgeous this is. Now, some of these, they look like townhomes or condos. They look fairly modest, but I'm sure they all start at well over $1 million. At least that's my guess. I'd be very surprised if they didn't. This is one of the most desirable neighborhoods in all of Palm Springs. Okay, let's see what it says here. Okay, Frank Bogart Trailhead, established May 8th, 2010. Open sunrise to sunset. Okay, maybe, see, these days, I mean, when I was younger, I would take hikes like this on my own, but I just learned over the years it's not very smart to do that, so I'll wait and come up here maybe with somebody who wants to hike with me. Jim doesn't hike anymore or walk anymore, unfortunately. But I have other neighbors and friends. I'm sure I can find somebody to go on a hike with me. In fact, there's somebody who watches this channel. If you're watching, he's left me comments. He's a trail guide or hiking guide. And if you're watching, this is definitely a hike I would like to take. So if you want to go on a hike one day, let me know, leave a comment, and we can go on a hike up here. And I think I mentioned that, my grandfather died on one of these trails up here hiking when he was 70, I think 71. And he was with someone, he was with his, well, actually that's an interesting story. He was with his good friend, Hugh Young, and Hugh and Maureen Young, they bought Frank Sinatra's famous home here in Palm Springs. When Frank Sinatra sold, back in the late 50s, I think it was, he sold the house to his Twin Palms house to move down to Rancho Mirage. The Youngs bought his house, and they owned Frank Sinatra's house for longer than he owned it. They owned it from the 50s until I think they died in the 90s. They lived to be quite old. And after they died, it was purchased by a company that turned it into a celebrity rental home. So now you can actually stay there. It's a celebrity rental. You can get married there, or rent it out to stay. And it's very expensive. I forget what it is. The last time I looked, I mean, it's very, very expensive to stay there. And but anyway, so Hugh and my grandfather used to hike up in these hills, all the different hills. So, and when I was young and my grandfather died, and I was so distraught, I didn't even ask what trail he was on when he died. I just didn't even think of that. And I wish now I knew which trail he died on. But it was one of these trails here, up here in Palm Springs, and there's only about maybe a half a dozen trails, well-known trails. So, but I don't know which one it was. But he was with Hugh, and Hugh, this was back in the time before cell phones. And so they were up on a trail. My grandfather had a heart attack, collapsed, and Hugh had to go hike back down. I don't know if he found somebody if there was a payphone somewhere, or if he had to drive to the hospital or the police station or whatever. I don't know how he did it, but he was able to get the emergency team then to go up and retrieve my grandfather, who was dead from a heart attack, right there on one of these trails. So just another reason not to hike alone. In case something like that happens. I mean, you wouldn't want to just be left out on a trail and nobody would know where you are. Although these trails are very well hiked, so I'm sure somebody would find you eventually. But anyway, isn't that weird? I mean, it's such a small world that, the guy who owned Frank Sinatra's house was my grandparents' best friend, and they were hiking, and my grandfather was with his friend when he died, hiking up here in the hills. So just another personal story from growing up here in Palm Springs. Now, there are some stone homes that were built way, way back, I don't know, back in the 1920s or something, up here in the hills. Now, I was asking one of the neighbors who was walking up the hill with me. He said that you can get there by hiking, but they're quite a distance away. There's a couple down in this direction, and then there are quite a few, I think, like up on the side of that hill. But he said it's difficult. It's not real easy to get to either of those from this street here. This is Andreas Hill's drive or road. But at some point I would like to go find those stone homes. In fact, I'd like to hike to those. But, they're out in kind of a little bit of a remote area, so I'm not going to go out there by myself. So if that guy who hikes here in Palm Springs professionally wants to go, let me know, and we can go find those stone homes. In fact, maybe you know where they are and how to get there. Leave a comment. That would be interesting to know, and helpful to others who might want to hike on their own. Or maybe they would like to hike with you. Apparently, this guy, he hikes and takes groups of people hiking in the hills, and sort of a tour, I think. Tour guide, I think. So anyway, hopefully I can do that soon before it gets too warm. It's going to get really hot soon. May should probably be okay for hiking, but by the time we get to June, it's probably going to be a little too hot. Even when you get up in the morning at 6, 7 o'clock, when the sun comes up, it's still pretty warm when it's like 90 degrees in the morning, 90, 95 at sunrise in the middle of summer, or just in summer. It looks like a lot of the homes here are condos. It looks like it'd be a nice place to play tennis, doesn't it? And that looks like a pretty nice house, doesn't it? Pretty large. Great location, looks new. Looks like it was just built. Those views, I'm sure, are spectacular. It's very, very peaceful here this morning. I hope my microphone is picking up all the birds tweeting. This is the first time I'm using this microphone, so I don't know how it's going to do with the background noise. It's really, really quiet here. All you can hear are the tweeting birds. All right, this is, I don't know if it's a condo development or a home development called Park Andreas. Can you hear the tweeting birds? Okay, so now we're on Bogart Trail. So I guess the top street is Andreas Hills, and this is Bogart Trail. I guess they parallel each other. You can see why it takes me a couple of hours to walk, pretty short distance because I stop so much. But it's fun seeing all these different houses. I wasn't expecting to see these condos here. They look like they were built probably in the 80s or 90s. Here's a newer home that looks really nice. Modern home. Very sleek and white. Do you like that style? I love this modern style like this. Hey, and here's a vacant lot. Ready to build your own modern home. Look at the beautiful views you'd have from your backyard there. And this whole neighborhood really is like one big cul-de-sac. This is just at the very end, like I say, the very end of Palm Springs, South Palm Springs, tucked back in this little cove area here, surrounded by the mountains. So you don't get a lot of traffic here unless people are coming up to hike or people live here. This is a more traditional sort of Mediterranean style, Italian style home. Still very nice. See, the sun is coming over the hills there. This one's got some cute giraffe sculptures right here. Can you see them? The light's not really great for this, but I think maybe you can see. That's a pretty one, newer one. How many of you are Bridgerton fans? The series on Netflix. Jim just told me last night that the third season will be starting in May. I think, did he say May 5th? You can check Netflix and see, but it's starting soon. And we loved it. We loved watching the first two series. In fact, the first two seasons. And we're going to watch them both again before the third season comes up, just as a refresher. They were so good. They were so well written and fun. And I didn't realize it when we were watching it at the time. I didn't know. Okay, so this is the beginning of, or the entrance to Park Andreas community. It's gated. It looks like it probably has a guard at the gate. It's got a nice fountain there. So Bridgerton, the first season was so popular. Well, both seasons were very popular. It just kind of came out of nowhere and everyone just went crazy over it. And if you haven't watched it, definitely watch it. It's a period piece, but it's got a lot of comedy and I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it's really, really well done. And Jonathan Bailey played the brother and one of the central characters in the second season. He's the older brother. I think, if I remember right, well, I'm not gonna tell you the plot. I didn't realize that he was openly gay. And in fact, I never even heard about him until Bridgerton. Now we've seen a lot of his movies and other shows. He was, and if you saw the series recently, I think it was also on Netflix, although it could have been on Prime or something, called Fellow Traveler, or Fellow Travelers. He was one of the two central characters. It was a gay historic. I don't know if it would qualify as a period piece. It was set back in the 50s and 60s and 70s and during the AIDS epidemic in the 80s. And then on Bridgerton, the Queen, I found out that she was a lesbian. I had no idea when we were watching. I mean, I didn't know anything about her. I'd never seen her, or I don't remember seeing her in any movies or TV shows. But I can't remember now if there were any gay characters or just gay actors. Maybe some of you know. You can share with us in the comments. We'll watch, like I said, we'll watch the 2 seasons again and find out. So I think, let me go down this street here. So, I don't know, this is Sevilla. Well, this looks kind of nice. That's a beautiful Spanish style home, but it looks newer, like it was just built in the last probably 10 years or so. Lots of modern homes here. So I'm no longer on this circle, the Bogart Circle. I think I got to the bottom. Okay, there's another modern home. So I'm just kind of randomly walking right now in the neighborhood. I started on the circle, the loop. Now I'm just kind of walking through the neighborhood. So the other thing that I discovered yesterday is that Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, the classic, our favorite Australian gay theme film. We've seen it probably, well, I'd say 100 times. That's probably not, maybe 100 times, but we've seen it close to 100 times. We just love it. And after 30 years, it came out in 1994, and they just announced that they're going to do a sequel to it with all of the original cast. That's amazing that they're all still alive and all still available to do a sequel. Let's hope it's as good as the first one. Well, even if it's not, I'm sure it'll still be good. So those are 2 things that we're really looking forward to seeing soon. Well, Priscilla, since I think they just announced they're just starting, probably be a while, probably another year or so before that comes out. But Bridgerton's coming soon, so we're looking forward to that. Oh, it looks like I'm at a dead end. I guess this is a cul-de-sac, but that's okay. Look how nice this is. And what is that in the street? Is that like a little pickleball thing or something? Or maybe it's a place for people to park. Look at that. This is a real interesting house. Look at that design. So all of these, I'm pretty sure, are custom lots where you just build your own home. You have your own home built. I think I mentioned that before. And a lot of these, now that's a tall garage. I guess it's probably for an RV. I guess they must have an RV. It looks kind of narrow though. All right, so I'll go back and I'll go back onto the loop and maybe finish that up. What do you think of this one? That's pretty impressive, isn't it? I like these cactus here. And these glass doors. Yeah, I guess I just turned too soon. I'm back on Bogart Trail. And you can see it goes quite a ways down before the end of the loop. Look at these boulders. I love these. You know from my past walks, I love homes that have boulders in or around them. That's really pretty. Love these desertscapes. And the sun still isn't up completely over that hill over there. That's a nice one. Very sleek here, very clean, very modern. So their pool is probably behind that wall there. Look at that view of the hills right behind their house. Did I walk by this or I drove? Oh, you know, I think well, I don't know. There was another house under construction too. Maybe that was a different one. Let's see what this says. Yeah, custom residence. That's nice. Oh, that's pretty, isn't it? I always love looking at homes being built. I've loved doing that since I was a kid. Especially the homes here in Palm Springs. Look at that. Would you like that hill in your backyard? Isn't that neat? Oh. You just reach out and touch it. It's like being out in the country, but you're right here in the city. Well, a little south of the city. Or maybe it's more of a town than a city. Well, I guess Palm Springs now is pretty big. I guess it is a city. Growing up back here in the 50s and 60s, it was definitely just a town back then. Well, I think it was still incorporated as a city, but it was definitely a lot more like a town than a city. Now this is the main entrance in and out of this area here. So this is where I was walking, a loop back up there. I think I made a left and I parked up on one street over. Hopefully I can find my car again. But let me walk a little bit. There wasn't a very big loop, so I can walk a little bit more. It's so quiet, I don't even hear any birds right now. I'm wondering if those stone homes, or maybe up this trail here, I don't know if you can see the trail behind this house, maybe just on the other side of that house. And this one is just under renovation, I guess. Look at that beautiful home. Well, I don't know, maybe they're not building a house there, they're doing something else. Yeah, it's really pretty. Now this bridge looks kind of new, well, the bridge was here, but this design looks new. Like I say, I was here maybe 5-10 years ago. I don't remember this ornate bridge. It's kind of interesting. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I know many of you leave comments and you say you just love the mountains here as much as I do. So this is for all of you who like seeing these mountains. So this is one of the washes here, and I guess I see people walking there in the wash, so it's probably also a popular place to walk. All right, let me keep going to the other side of the bridge. This is another gated community. This one's called Monte Sereno. And I do remember that these were luxury homes back years ago when they were first being built. I think they were $1 million, and this was probably 10-15 years ago. And this just goes all the way down. This is the way I came in. It goes all the way down and ends at Palm Canyon Drive, or South Palm Canyon Drive. I don't know if I'm going to walk all the way down there or not. Maybe. I guess I'll just play it by ear. Here's another community. This one I think is more modern. In my video the other day, I think I showed you these. Yeah, so there's people revving their engines even up here in this peaceful, quiet neighborhood. I think they just like to, I guess not a photo bomb, what would it be called? A noise bomb. Whenever you're filming, someone always revs their engine. They want to be a part of the video, I guess. Yeah, see, these plants I see down here a lot. They're more architectural, used architecturally. Aren't these beautiful? But this is about as big as they get. They don't get very high, so they're more for ground covering. Let's look at, now this one doesn't have a guard at the gate, but look at this house looks enormous. Can you see that house there? Is that the garage? Or no, I guess that must be a house. Well, shoot, now I can't. Maybe this gate is really tall, so I guess I can hardly, I don't know if you can even see it. Look how big those homes are. All right, I guess that's as close as I'm going to be able to get to it. I think I've said this before, but I love all architectural styles. I love mid-century modern, which is what we're famous for here in Palm Springs. And I love Spanish, which was the style before Palm Springs became really famous. I love homemade homes and extreme homes and tiny homes and manufactured homes. I love all homes. They're all just so interesting. And I guess that's one of the reasons I love Palm Springs, because we have just so many different styles and they're all so interesting. They're all so beautiful and have so many stories. And historic homes, celebrity homes, historic homes. Look at this cute little, it's like an adobe here. I don't see a lot of pink houses in Palm Springs anymore. It was definitely the color back in the 50s and 60s. But it's nice to see pops of color, pops of pink like this. Another new home going up here. one of you left a comment saying that pink was popular back in the 50s because of Eisenhower. I don't think I ever really knew why pink was so popular back in the 50s and 60s. All right, so this is another cul-de-sac. Let's go a little bit down here. And I think it was because, was it Mamie Eisenhower? She loved pink, and she was so popular, so beloved by the country, that pink just took off. And some of you may remember, if you're old enough, like me, pink toilets and pink sinks in the bathrooms or even in the kitchens, and pink refrigerators. I mean, everything was pink. Pink Cadillacs, of course. Pink was all the rage, and I think it was because of the Eisenhowers, because of Mamie Eisenhower. And I think, if I remember correctly, I think I visited Eisenhower's grave. I visited their grave sites, and was he buried in? He was buried in. I think Eisenhower's buried in pink, something in pink. I can't remember now what it was. Was it pink shorts? It might have been pink shorts. If any of you know, leave a comment. Remind me, refresh me, because I've forgotten. All right, so we're still on Bogart Trail here. Oh, and the interesting thing about Bogart Trail, or about Bogart, Frank Bogart, the mayor of Palm Springs, which again, maybe it was 50s, 60s when he was mayor. I mentioned the other day in my video about when I visited all of the statues in Palm Springs. He had the most prominent statue in Palm Springs. It was right in front of City Hall. It was him on top of a horse, riding a horse. And horse riding used to be really popular down here back in the day, 30s, 40s, 50s, and right in this neighborhood here, or right around this neighborhood. And in fact, you can ride horses all through these canyons here. Look at that gate there. Isn't that cool? That's really nice. And look at this cool house. Love that, and a boulder too. I sure hope my microphone is working. You can hear me talking about all of this. Can you hear those crows? So anyway, getting back to Frank Bogart and the controversy of his statue. So he had this statue of a horse, him on a horse, in front of City Hall. And back in the 1960s, the city declared, I guess it was eminent domain or something like that. I'm not sure, because the property downtown, in downtown Palm Springs where the convention center is now, it's owned by the Indians, the Native American tribe here, the Agua Caliente Indians. And at that time, back in the 60s, it was low-income housing. I mean, just by default. I mean, there were shacks, and people, I think, had just built their own shacks, and people rented there. I don't know if anybody really owned the homes. I think they just, well, see, you have to, if you're really curious, you can Google it and read all about it for all the details, because I don't remember. I didn't realize I was going to talk about it today, or I would have maybe refreshed myself on the story. But in a nutshell, he was mayor at the time, so I guess it was the 60s, and he allowed the eminent domain, or whatever it was they used. I'm not sure that's what they used, because otherwise I don't think it'd be so controversial. But they removed all of the poor people, basically, the people who were living in these rundown homes and shacks and places that they could actually afford. A lot of people, Palm Springs was very popular in the 60s. People came, to the hotels and stuff. Well, they needed waiters and cooks and cleaning people and all the people who work, at all the different. Now, this is a great location, great lot, right? Must be very expensive, or it would probably already be gone, because you overlook the golf course there. So all the people that worked in the hospitality industry, they don't necessarily make a lot of money, but they need, people to do all of those jobs. So they were all living downtown. And the city decided, because it was becoming so popular, and they wanted, I don't know if it's because they wanted to build a convention center or what the reason was, but they thought it was unsightly to have all these really, really, ugly, rundown shacks, basically, from what I've read. in right downtown Palm Springs, where you have all these tourists from around the world. So, you know, it's always about money. And so Frank Bogart, who was mayor at the time, well, it's too bad there's not a price here. It'd be interesting to see. And a pink door over there. He signed off on, I guess, allowing whoever it was to remove all of these people. They moved him to the north end of Palm Springs. I believe they found other housing for them. You know, they relocated them. And now, all of these years later, their families or relatives, most of those people are probably long gone, but their kids and grandkids now want reparations. And so the city's in the middle of deciding how much money. They offered them, I think it was like 4.5 million, and they rejected it. They want a lot more money apparently. And they were very upset that Frank Bogart did what he did, that he allowed I think it was mostly people of color who lived in these neighborhoods. And so they said he was a racist, and a racist shouldn't have a statue in front of City Hall. And you know, so it was very, very controversial, and they did remove the statue. It's in storage somewhere now. I walked by the other day just to see if it had been replaced by anything, and it's just the mound where the statue used to be. Nothing's been replaced, because this was just a year or two ago that it was removed. I mean, both sides fought. You know, the friends of Frank Bogart wanted it to be kept, and the statue to remain, and the relatives of the people who had been displaced wanted it removed, and they fought in court for years, I think. And they finally won, the people that wanted it removed, and it was removed. So, in case you're wondering who Frank Bogart is and why he has a street named after him, and today, he used to be extremely popular. He was sort of like I don't know what would be the name. He was synonymous with Palm Springs back in the 60s and 70s, and then until Sonny Bono came along, and Sonny Bono was even more famous as a mayor. And you know, I think Bogart might have been an actor. I'll have to look that up. I mean, I think he was, because I mean, he was friends with all the celebrities, and I don't know if it's just because they all came down here, or if he met them in Hollywood. So I'll have to look that up. If any of you know, share with us in the comments. But anyway, that's the story of Frank Bogart and the controversial statue and reparations. How do you feel about reparations? I mean, that's very controversial in itself. Maybe I'll talk about it in a different video, since I'm almost to the end of this street here. That's probably a video or a conversation for another video. That is one really big hedge, isn't it? Well, there's so many. I've never seen them trim these hedges, any of these hedges. So that's how they have to do it. They have to have an extension. They probably still need to get on a ladder. I wonder how much that costs to have that done. It's probably pretty expensive. So as you can see, the golf course is right across the street. I can't remember, is this the Indian Canyon golf course? I think so. And at the end of the street here, I'm going to go all the way to the end and show you the sign for this neighborhood, and so you can see what street this is. This is the street that you come down from downtown Palm Springs if you're heading south, and just keep going straight. This is the street you'll be on. It's always fun to see bicyclers riding around town. All right, so you can see this is Palm Canyon Drive, and this is the Andreas Hill's neighborhood. And Palm Canyon Drive is the street that you're on when you're in downtown Palm Springs. That's our main street. So if you're in downtown Palm Springs, you're on Palm Canyon Drive. I think it is, that's where it starts, where it turns into South Palm Canyon Drive, right downtown. And if you go north, then you'd be heading on North Palm Canyon. Come this way, then you're on South Palm Canyon. And you can see the beautiful golf course here. And I could walk to downtown from here. It's probably, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 miles. It's not really that far. I'm not going to walk today, but I could. I'm going to walk back to my car. And in fact, I'm going to check my, all right, so you can see Bogart Trail here. I'm kind of surprised they haven't made them take down his name from these signs. I guess a statue is different than a street sign, and most people have no clue who he is anymore anyway. And that goes for people who live here and people who come to visit. Most of these street signs are named after famous people, famous for Palm Springs or for other things, and most people don't really have a clue. And that goes the same. I'm sure that's the same in most cities around the country. I remember I was back east on my road trip, and a couple years ago, oh, look at that house over there in the hills. That's kind of neat, isn't it? And I kept seeing the signs for, oh God, what was his name? Well, now I can't remember. I guess I'll have to save that story for another. I went to his gravesite, and he's very, very famous. Oh, Pulaski? Casimir Pulaski. So he's a very famous war hero who died, I think he was in his 20s. He was shot with a cannonball in the leg, and it killed him. And he's buried there in Savannah, Georgia. And, you know, I don't even know if I even had ever heard of Casimir Pulaski. But then you go back east, and his name is everywhere. I saw highways and streets and schools and just about everything you can imagine named after Casimir Pulaski. But here in California, I don't remember ever hearing about him like when I was in high school or anything. So I'm glad to find out about him. And it turns out that I think he was, if I remember right, he was... Morning. Huh?
Want me to take a picture?
Oh, thank you. But no, I'm just kind of walking and talking. I have a YouTube channel. I just go walk around neighborhoods and stuff. But thank you. I appreciate that. That was very nice. I have to say, people are so nice. Everywhere I go and I have my camera out, people ask me if they can take my picture. And that's really nice. I guess this hat's not keeping the sun off my face, but I won't be on this street for too long. So, unfortunately, even though people are really, really nice about asking to take my picture, especially when it looks like I'm taking a selfie, I almost always say no now, because most people, they're so well-intentioned and they're so nice, and it kind of restores my faith in humanity at times. But most people take horrible pictures, I'm sorry to say. And so, you know, half the time it's out of focus or blurry, or I'm not in the frame, or it's so far away. So I just learned that if I really want a picture of myself, a selfie, it's much better if I just take it myself, because then I can frame it the way I want and I can get close enough and get the right background, you know. So, yeah, so I just feel bad when people take pictures of me and they're trying to be so helpful, and they take pictures that are just awful that I can't even use. All right, so this street has gotten a lot busier, so I'm going to try to cross here. So I'm not getting all of the... I may have to wait a little bit. Okay, and then I'll get back to my Casimir Pulaski story. But look, this is where they're doing the trimming. Okay, I think I'm good here. And it's right on a curve, so you can't really see the cars coming in the other direction. So how many of you know who Casimir Pulaski is? So he actually has a place in gay history, at least from a number of videos I've seen and a number of things I've read online. He's sort of a gay icon, and I never even knew. But I mean, this is way back in George Washington times. George Washington, I think, was the one who hired him. George Washington knew he was gay. And in fact, hopefully I'm not getting him mixed up with another. There's another guy who has a similar kind of name, but and you guys can correct me if I'm getting this wrong. But one of these guys was actually run out of, I think it was Russia or Poland or somewhere, because he was gay. Of course, that word didn't even exist back then, but whatever. I mean, they knew he was homosexual. That word probably didn't exist back then either. In fact, I'm sure it didn't. So whatever word they used to describe same-sex relations back then, they knew that he was that way. And they kicked him out of the army. And so Washington hired him, brought him over. and hired him to be, because he was apparently a really, really good soldier or general or something, and had won some major battles overseas. He was already had a reputation for being really excellent at what he did, and so I think he helped win one of the battles here in the U.S. in Savannah, Georgia. But unfortunately, he took a musket ball or a cannonball to the thigh, and he might have died because of the infection. But he died, I think he was in his 20s, maybe his 30s, and I'll share that video. I'll see if I can find it, because I haven't shared it yet. He has one of the neatest grave sites I've ever been to, and I'll share that on this channel, or maybe the other channel, since the other one's my graveyard channel. I don't know, I always go back and forth. I usually share LGBTQ plus grave sites on this, or I've started sharing them on this channel, so I'll probably do it here. So anyway, and I think also it was, hello. Now I'm thinking, maybe it wasn't that he was gay. When you're born with the genitals of male and female, oh gosh, I am getting so old, I can't even think of the name of what that's called. So yeah, I don't think he was gay. All right, so this story is like I'm sure is very confusing, but anyway, look up Casimir Pulaski, and he does have a place in LGBTQ plus history, and I forget what made me think of that. Oh, I saw a Bogart sign where I was talking about names on signs, and so that's where that came from. So yeah, when I'm walking and talking, I'm just kind of bouncing all over the place at times. Like whenever I see something, I am very easily distracted. But I'm not. This is not a history video. It's not a documentary. It's just me walking around and talking about stupid things, weird things, things that I see. So yeah, don't quote me on any of this, I guess. Just if you're curious, look it up. I do find that a lot of people, I don't think on this channel so much, I think on my other channel, the Graveyard channel, people get really, really angry at me if I don't have every fact correct, and if I leave out facts. And I guess a lot of them think of the other channel as like a documentary, as documentaries and historic documentaries, and they're not. I mean, I've always said, I just do these videos for fun. It's just me visiting a gravesite. I like to see where famous people and interesting people and celebrities are buried. And then I just share a little bit about what I do know. And I always say that, this is not meant to be a documentary, but people still get mad if I have any facts incorrect. So just so you know, this channel definitely is not a documentary. This is just me walking around wherever I happen to be, talking about things that I may know absolutely nothing about, but that doesn't stop me from talking about them. So I just shared my opinions and my thoughts and just observations, whatever I happen to see along the way. So that's all this channel is for. Just a fun day in the life, walking around. Oh, okay, so I see a gate over here. The same gate, but from a different angle, a nicer angle. So let me turn the camera around. See what I mean? How easily distracted I am? But isn't this a pretty gate? It's kind of a modern gate, but it also would go with a Spanish style home. I think it would work with either. So this is the main street, and all of a sudden I guess everyone woke up and decided to go do their errands or whatever, because all of a sudden it's become a very busy street. I've got to see what time it is. Maybe it's much later than I think. My pedometer app says that I've walked a little less than 3 miles so far. It's around 8:30. I think I got here around 7. So I'm walking for about an hour and a half. So that's not very far for an hour and a half walk to go 3 miles. But, as you can see, I'm just kind of lollygagging, just sort of meandering and strolling and just sightseeing. And by the time I get back to the car, it'll be another 15 minutes or so. So this will probably be a 2-hour walk, which is about what I thought it would be. I should have brought my bigger hat, the one that I usually wear on these walks, because it is very sunny and it's not covering my nose there's some shade, but there's a lot of sun, especially going in this direction. So my nose will probably be a little sunburned in my face by the time I get back to the car. Usually I do wear the big hat, but it was so shady and cold this morning. Well, not really cold. It was almost 60 degrees. But I don't know, I guess I was thinking I really wouldn't need that big hat. I think the lesson here is you always need a big hat here in the desert when you're walking here in the desert. So from now on, that's just my motto. I'm always going to need a big hat no matter what. So, oh, here's some nice shade. This is good. Okay, so I'm back to Linea. Love these succulents, whatever these are called. They're nice. I just checked my temperature app also, and it says that it's only 65 degrees, so it's really pleasant, but when you're right in the sun, it feels a lot warmer. I'm really sweating. It feels like it's 80 degrees already, just because I'm in the sun. In the shade, it's very nice. And you know, I was watching a YouTube channel the other day. I've had a hard time finding YouTube channels with older people, and especially with older gay people. And somehow YouTube sent me this video of this guy, and it turns out he's a flight attendant. His name and his channel is called Stephen, gosh, I don't remember how to say his last name, Peria? I'll write it down below in case you want to check it out. When I watched his first video, I mean, they were really long, and it's just about him walking around talking all day about things. And at first I was kind of like, I don't know. I mean, it seemed a little odd because he wasn't really going anywhere in most of his videos to show you anything. He was just walking around, going to work or staying in a hotel. As a flight attendant, I guess they get free hotel rooms when they have to stay overnight at some of their destinations. And it was kind of interesting, but I thought he was very interesting. And then I realized, I kept watching, and he's very funny. And he's not a comedian or anything, but I don't know, the things he talks about and what he talks about are funny. So it got my attention, and now I really like his channel. I thought, you know, I really want to start doing more of what he does. I mean, I really like the way he just walks around and talks about things. And it doesn't have to be, so the video's not really about anything other than just him talking about things that he finds interesting. And I find that interesting, and never would have guessed a few years ago, before I started watching YouTube channels, that I would actually just like watching people do the most boring, you would think, boring things like mowing their lawn or cleaning the house or eating dinner, you know, preparing a meal, or just walking around getting ready, like this guy, getting ready to go to work, or walking through the airports talking, but there's something kind of interesting. I guess if you like the person, if they're kind of interesting. And I like that he's gay. He does talk about gay things sometimes, but it's not really a gay channel. I think he said he was 55, and he has a beard and looks a little bit older. So I was thinking that maybe he was around 60, just because I think the beard makes you look older. And he's like me, he doesn't have a lot of hair. I mean, he has more than I do, but he looks maybe a little bit older. I have no idea why I like that channel, but I do. I like his channel, and I do like a lot of these. There's this one guy, DoorDash. He's not gay, but he's also probably around the same age, around 50, 55, and he just picks up things from shops and delivers them, usually restaurants, to people, and he'll have like a half-hour to an hour-long video of just picking up and delivering food, and I just can't get enough of channels like that now. I mean, you would think it would be so boring, but I don't know, I find it really interesting. So how about you guys? Do you like those kind of channels too? So just a heads up, I think I'm going to be doing more of that, because I actually really like watching those kind of channels where people are just walking around talking about things. Well, even Lamont on the Run, I realized, even though he does go to specific places and usually will show you stuff, not always. Sometimes I saw him watch one video, like half-hour video the other day that he did, where just walking around the airport just talking about something. It had nothing to do with the airport or anything. And it was so interesting, I couldn't stop watching. So I probably will be doing more of that. So just a heads up in case you hate those kind of videos, you know, I'm letting you know now. And if you do like them, let me know. It's always good to have good feedback. But I do really like those. So I want to do on my channel what I actually like watching. Here's this house again, heading the other direction. Still love these boulders. Yeah, so it's interesting when you have a channel. I mean, I think the reason I started this channel is because I just wanted a more personal channel. Just a channel about my life and all the boring things that I do. But I mean, I'm not, you know, going to historic places that much anymore, not going to grave sites that much on this channel, although I will still do all of those things. But most of the time, it's just about me and my life. And I just realized I really find these kind of things interesting, where I guess because I like reality shows. I've always liked reality TV shows. And so that's probably why I like channels like this, YouTube channels where people are just, it's just reality. It's just their life. And, you know, whatever happens to happen, they're out and about doing their regular life. Now, some people are more dramatic than others. I'm not a dramatic person. I don't like drama and chaos and craziness. I don't like any of that. So that's not what this channel is about. Although I suppose those kind of things happen sometimes just without you even wanting them to happen. But most of the time it's just walking around and talking about things. And hopefully some of you can relate. Again, share in the comments. Do you like channels like this too? I mean, have you watched the one where the guy is just, he mows lawns? That's all he does. And apparently, I'm not the only one who likes that channel. I mean, it's like one of the most popular channels on YouTube, I think. He just goes around and mows people's lawn and trims their hedges and bushes and trees and does it for free. And he does it for people, I think a lot of the people, they can't afford to have it done themselves, so their yards have become overgrown. And so he's able to make money from advertising, you know, the advertising that plays on his channel. He gets money from that, so he doesn't charge them anything to do the lawn. So if he does an hour video of mowing someone's lawn, he might make, you know, well, his channel is so popular and so many views, he might make thousands and thousands of dollars just on that one video, of mowing someone's lawn. So he doesn't need to charge the homeowners. Okay, so this is the street that I came in on. This is the loop. The Bogart Trail goes all the way around here, loops all the way around, comes back here to Bogart Trail, and Andreas Hills is the street on the top street, or parallel street that I started it on. It was all in shade an hour and a half ago. So let's go see how, I don't think there's any shade anymore. So anyway, if you have channels to recommend that you think I might like, or that others might like on this channel, share it with us in the comments. And let me know if any of you have watched Stephen Perrier, however his name is, the flight attendant. If you watch his channel, or the guy, the DoorDash, I think it's called Dashing Across America. The guy who mows the lawns, I can't remember what his is called, but you're probably all watching those because, I mean, he probably has 500,000 subscribers by now, and millions and millions and millions of views. So, yeah, sometimes it's just the boring things that are the most interesting to watch, I guess, if they're done right. Or maybe we can just all relate to those kind of things because we all have, you know, relatively boring lives, or unexciting, not too exciting lives. So I guess maybe these are just all videos that we all can relate to. Maybe that's why I'm really not sure what the appeal is, but I definitely find these kind of videos appealing. Which, if you asked me a couple years ago before I started YouTube, I would have thought you were totally nuts if you said I'd be watching these kind of channels and that they were my favorite kind of channels. Whew, I'm definitely warm. That was a nice walk. I'm glad I brought lots of water. I just saw somebody walking carrying their water. So when I got out of the car, I opened the passenger side of the car, and forgetting that I have like a mound full of stuff here, my hats and all kinds of things. As soon as I opened the door, my hat fell into the gutter, and of course the gutter is running water. So that's the most drama I get on this channel, and that's all the drama I need. That's plenty for me. I don't need any more than that. So Thanks for joining me again today, and I'll hope to see you all next time.